here, and this short film is just to let you know all about Yin Yoga. Yin Yoga is a special, slow form of yoga. Our regular yoga that we practice here is Hatha Yoga, and we say that that is a Yang form of yoga because there's an energy to it, a movement to it. Yin Yoga is a slower practice, and it's all about making room in the joints, in the fascia, which is like a cobweb that holds everything together within the body. So we stretch that, we stretch the joints in Yin Yoga, and we can hold poses for up to 5 minutes here at Spark Life. Other practitioners would hold them for maybe up to 10 minutes, but for us here that feels a little too extreme. So Yin Yoga is all about noticing the breath, noticing the sensations and the emotions in the body when you're in the poses. As we said, Hatha Yoga is a dynamic form of yoga, focusing on the muscles, the blood and the skin, whereas Yin Yoga is a slower, steadier practice, working on stillness, working on the tissues, the joints, the fascia and the ligaments of the body. You've no doubt seen the Yin Yang Symbol. It's a big circle with 2 halves in it, in kind of paisley shape. There's a dark side with a little white spot in it, and the white side with a little black spot in it. And that shows the lightness and darkness, and the fact that without darkness there can be no light, and without light there can be no darkness. Yin and Yang are like the 2 sides of a coin. One cannot exist without the other. So thinking about these opposites that need the other to exist. In Yin we have darkness, in Yang we have lightness. In Yin it's cold, Yang is hot. We have passive in Yin and active in Hatha in Yang. Slow is Yin, fast is Yang. We have the Yin of female and the Yang of male. The moon is Yin while the sun is Yang, and night is Yin whilst day is Yang. And we use these opposites within our yoga. As I've told you before, yoga was developed thousands and thousands of years ago, but it was around about the 1960s that it first became the yoga that we know it today, a very westernised form of yoga. And there's a very important gentleman in yoga called BKS Iyengar. You may have seen Iyengar yoga classes somewhere, which is based on the teachings of BKS Iyengar. And he wrote a very seminal work in 1966 called Light on Yoga. And this is the book that most modern yoginis hold as our text that we take inspiration from. And this was the very first text that mentioned that yoga poses could possibly be held for 10 minutes. And then in the 1990s, an American yogi called Paul Brilley was studying the teachings of BKS Iyengar, and he then developed Yin Yoga as a separate practice, thinking about the benefits of this slow practice of stretching the joints, the fascia, the ligaments, the tissues. And he developed 3 principles for Yin Yoga. The first being coming to the pose at the appropriate depth. So what that means is when we are taking our Yin Yoga pose, we want to be able to feel something in it. We want to be able to maybe feel a little discomfort, which means that the body is at the edge of holding that pose. If there's any pain, we don't want that. We pull out of the pose a little more so that there is no pain in the body. But in Yin Yoga, we're always looking for that edge that we can find. So coming to the pose at the appropriate depth. His next principle was resolve to remain still. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, being still for 10 minutes is quite tricky. So that's another reason that here at Spark Life we hold them for up to 4, maybe 5 minutes. Most of the poses we hold for 3 minutes because that seems an achievable length of time. Which brings us to the third principle, hold the pose for time. So this is building on the other two principles, that it's something where you can feel your edge, but it's achievable, and something that you can remain still in for the length of time that we would suggest as teachers. So that is the basis of Yin. The way that it works here at Spark Life is that I will ease you gently into a pose, and I have sand times. As you know, I'm not a fan of digital things during yoga. To me, that feels a bit of an edge with it. So I will time the poses using my sand timers. When the time is up, I use my tincture to symbolise that we've held the pose, and then I gently guide you out of the pose. We then do what we call a counter pose, which is a yang movement. And the idea of doing this is that we can feel the energy return to the body. In Yin Yoga we call this the rebound. So for example, after we've held a hip opening pose, maybe butterfly, we would then take a yang pose, such as a windscreen wipers, to help us reset the body. And you will feel quite often a tingling or release of energy from where you've held it. So now you know a little bit about Yin Yoga. Please join us at the studio, either on a Thursday evening at 8 o'clock or a Friday morning at 11:15 for Yin Yoga, or check out some of our Yin Yoga classes on our on-demand platform. And I hope to share the magic of Yin with you very soon. Namaste.